All right, welcome back, guys. I want to take you through some steps to help you sort out some of the problems that you're going to have. The process of debugging is going to be crucial here because there's so many ways to make errors in your code, and having some basic tools and things that you know to look for is really going to help you iron things out without having to get a hold of me every time and try and clear these out. So first thing is make sure that you over in Unity have your errors turned on. So then let's go back to Visual Studio here. One of the most common things that will happen is that people will end up losing a bracket. So if I just delete that and hit save, if we come back over here, notice we've got some errors. 2 errors. You say to yourself, how can one problem over here create 2 errors? Well, let's actually look at what these errors are. The thing is, the error is not going to tell you exactly what's wrong. It's going to give you clues as to what's wrong. So this is telling us the timestamp. I'm recording at 21 o'clock. The file in my assets folder that is called playersats2.cs, on line number 19, 5th character in. So 5th character in, let's look at that. Line 19 right here, 5th character in. Here's character number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Update. Let's see. Keyword void cannot be used in this context. I must be doing that wrong and count it. Count from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. By the time you get 5 characters in, we see the word void. Okay? And it says void cannot be used in this context. Well, you and I looking at this know that the word void is not the problem. The problem is that I just deleted a bracket from up here. So what's happening is the bracket that used to be there tells the computer that we have reached the end of our start method. So here we are telling the computer that we're going to start the definition of this method, and here is where the actual definitions start. Here's the signature line for that definition, and here's the body of the definition is what's contained in the brackets. Since we deleted that, the computer is assuming that these 3 lines and more is all part of the body of the start method, because it never got the bracket that tells it that it ended. If we never told it that it ended, then it hasn't ended as far as the computer is concerned. So it's saying, you know what, you can't start the definition of a new method while you're still in the definition of the old method. So again, the problem is not the fact that that we're starting a new method in the middle of an old method. The problem is that we just lost our bracket. So what we can learn from this is that a lot of times you're going to get an error not at the actual place where the error is occurring. The error is not down here. The error is up here on line 16. But the computer wasn't confused by the lack of anything here. The computer didn't get confused until it reached the word void, and it's like, wait, hold up a second here. You can't. That's unexpected. I don't know what to do with that now. So, and it's because something before it was wrong. So let's put our bracket back. And I didn't save it, so it's not updating and showing me that that's fixed. Come back over here, and I'm going to Control S, save that. And now Unity will catch up in a second. Boom. Now it's not confused about stuff because it knows. Let's delete that one more time. I didn't even look to see what the other error was. Unexpected symbol, bracket. It was expecting any one of these other symbols. It was expecting an equal sign, or I can't really see that. Is that an apostrophe? Commas, yeah. There's a number of... It's really hard to tell what it says that it was expecting. So, unexpected symbols. It was confused about the word update, and then it was confused because we started a bracket, and it didn't see any reason for... Is that a bracket or is that parenthesis? Maybe it's talking about this. I could tell by looking in the line number. It's still on line 19. So on line 19, yes, this parenthesis, it says, why are you using a parenthesis? That's very strange. We usually only see parentheses like that associated with a method. And this isn't a method because you can't be done with the old method because that's... Okay, so you get the idea. The computer is confused. And it's not confused about what's actually wrong. It's confused because of something that was wrong. Okay. Similar to how removing a bracket is going to mess us up, you often will get messed up because you'll be missing a line ending, the semicolon here. So let's have a look at what that does when we remove a semicolon. I didn't save it. Save. Okay. Unexpected symbol void. So that is on line 11. So if we look at line 11, void right here. It's confused by that. Again, same thing with the bracket, because we're declaring a float variable, and then we have the name of it, and then we haven't told it that it's ending here. There's no semicolon to end the line, so it just goes right past this. I haven't explained what this is yet, I guess. When you put the two slashes at the beginning of a line, that marks this line as being not code at all. This is called a comment, and it is put there by the programmer so that they can remember what they're doing. The start function is used to initialize things in the script. It runs the first frame, right? So the start function is gonna do things like initialize this variable. Initialize the variable means that we're going to put our very first value and assign that to. I'm sorry. Yeah, we're going to assign the very first value into this variable. So that's what initialization is. And this comment just says, oh yeah, start function is for initializing things. The update is called once per frame, and that's what's going to mostly control what this script does in the game as the game progresses. So because we're missing our line ending here, we don't have the semicolon. The very next thing that the computer sees, because the comment is invisible, is the word void. So the fact that we've entered down a couple of lines here from the end of line 8 to the beginning of line 11 doesn't matter to the computer. The enter is just for us to be visually so that it makes sense to us that the end of the line looks like the end of the line, but the computer doesn't care if it's on the same line or the next line. We could, you know what, let's try this. I'm going to delete, there. So on line 7, I actually have 2 complete lines of code. Let's see what that does. I'm going to save that. Notice I put our semicolon back. And let's let Unity catch up. No errors. The computer has no problem with this. I, however, have a problem with this because my brain says that this is one line, when in fact this is actually technically 2 lines of code. So put them on separate actual lines in front of us so that your brain can keep track of what you're doing. So the same thing is happening when we remove the semicolon here. All of a sudden it says, wait, float current health void? Why are you saying void after current health? That makes no sense. So that's why you get this unexpected symbol void. Is because it's not that there's anything wrong with void, it's that you missed your semicolon. I think I've said this already, but I will reiterate here. Every line of code that you are going to have in C# ends with one of 2 things. The semicolon, that's your usual, right? Anything that doesn't end with a semicolon, like the declaration, the signature line of our start function definition here, it doesn't end with a semicolon, it ends instead with a pair of brackets. So everything is going to either finish with a semicolon or with a pair of brackets that's intended to hold other things that have semicolons. So semicolon is your line ending. Make sure that everything has a semicolon unless it's got brackets. So the main thing right now is the anatomy of the error message. It tells you which file. Eventually, we're going to have more than just our one script file. You might end up having in a large game, you might end up having 100 script files, 1,000 different script files. You don't want one file with millions of lines of code in it. You want the one file that controls the way his feet move to be separate from everything else. So if his feet aren't moving, you look at the C# file that controls his feet, and you know the problem is probably there, right? It makes your life a lot simpler than trying to have everything in one giant file that you have to scroll for a day and a half through to get to line 10,093,000,093. So yeah, lots of separate files. In this game, we're probably going to end up with, I don't know, 5 different code files. Okay, so it tells you in the error, player stats 2 is the file with the problem. What line number it's on, right? There we go, line 19. Void was what it was complaining about, and then character number 5, so it tells you how far to go into the line. The other thing it was concerned about was 16 characters into the line. So if you want to count it up, that'll be all the way to the 16th character to get to this parenthesis. And then it'll tell you what exactly is confusing it. Void in this case, or the parenthesis in this case. So let's just save that with our bracket back in it, and we are good. Okay. One of the other things that I want to bring to your attention is just really watch the spelling and the capitalization. So let's look at what that looks like. If I was to misspell current health here and only have one R in there, first of all, your Visual Studio is real good at warning you that something's up with that. Let's say you didn't see it, and we head over here to Unity. So again, it's telling us exactly where to look in this file on this line number. It says the name current health does not exist in the current context. In the current context, because let's see, you might have current with one R in some other script, right? Maybe that's a thing that you created somewhere. Maybe you misspelled it up here in an enemy, the enemy's current health, and you've got it with one R. But in this context, inside the start function, inside this class brackets here, there is nothing with this exact name, not spelled that way. So is it telling you that you spelled it wrong? No, it's telling you that it doesn't exist, and that could be pretty confusing if you're not sure what it might be talking about. So it says that it doesn't exist, but really it's just that there was a misspelling. That is even worse. There we go. So there's definitely a lot more to learn about debugging. And we will certainly get to that farther on. But right now, I just want you to be aware of most of the most common things that you're going to run into before our code gets more complex. So there you go, guys. Hope you learned something. Ask me if you got questions, and on to the next one.